My washing machine was singing. I should have just said 420. Hi, hello. It's me, Nathan. Today, it's raining. Yesterday was like super hot, basically summer. And now today it's like full rain. And I'm just like, weather, make up your mind. Like, what are you doing? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Get your shit together, weather. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna spend most of the day indoors. Anyway, it's Sunday, and I really don't want to do much because I have much to do. Okay, book updates. Yes, I'm here. Let me tell you, I read books because reading is sexy, and if you're not reading, you're not sexy. Get with the program. We're nearly done with Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. We're at 423. I should have just said 420. So we're near and dear the end. We are on Easter, which is, so I thought, at first I didn't realize that this book was set an entire day. And then I got to Easter and I realized, oh, it's like a day and a half, kind of. A lot of time has passed because the whole day was set on Christmas Eve, something like that. And so a few months have passed after quite a lot of family drama, good drama. I was there for all of it. Franzen's got some tea. He likes to write the tea in the family. But yes, right now it's very much focused on, it's Russ and him as a pastor visiting Navajo land and people and basically realizing what the purpose of his life is and the purpose of the community he wants to create and basically his role in society as a person of Christianity. Franzen is making this circle and he's going almost at the 360 mark in terms of Russ and his character development. So it has been interesting. I think I want to finish this today. That's a bit ambitious. My washing machine was singing. Okay. Hi, it's Friday. Just got back from work. First off, we did a buddy read with Jessica from Jessica's Bookstack, Near to the Wild Heart, Clarice Lispector. Very cool. Love reading with Jessica. Got some great ideas. Still exchanging them but she wrote this at the age of 23, and I jumped into this wanting to know what she was thinking about at that age. I'm a broken record at this point, but we are a Lispector stan. We worship the woman. Lispectorism. Get into it. I will recruit you. Come on in. Join the cult. It's a fabulous place. Lispectorism. She's fantastic. But this follows the story of, what's her face? Joanna. And the book is split into two parts. The first half explores her childhood in this sort of like stream of consciousness and our classic Lispector. Second half of the book takes place many years after, moving in with her aunt and also her relationship with her husband, Ottavio, and sort of the collapse of her marriage with Ottavio. I don't know what it was about this one. Getting into it, I was like, yeah, cool, this is the jam, this is the groove. It's fun being in the Church of Lispector. But then the second half almost has this sort of stronger, concrete plot sense to it that kind of put me off because it wasn't necessarily Lispector. You don't read Lispector for plot, and her books aren't very plotty, so this kind of took me by surprise. But also, given that this was her first novel, I'm not surprised as well. But it's interesting to see what she was working with in terms of themes, sort of the themes still about God, finding God through the inner self, and creation versus creator, and what do we do with ourselves with all of that. But this feels like Lispector learning how to be a witch. This sort of looks at the backstage and watching the magician's show, seeing how all the tricks are done. In a way, from a Lispector completionist point of view, it's really fun to see, but for someone who hasn't read Lispector, it's an odd one. It's an odd one. She has these sort of reoccurring images of vipers, running water, cages, chickens, eggs, and she constantly uses these images, going back to them and how they support her themes of God outside, God within, art outside, and art within. You see the images a lot more clearly and how she plays with them and how she puts them out and then re-puts them out in this way that's better explored in her later novels. So I would not recommend this if you are starting out with Lispector. I only recommend this to Lispector completionists. And it's odd. I was scouring like BookTube for more reviews of this, and I only found like one really good one that sort of breaks down the symbolism throughout the book, and it's a joy. It's a wonderful, wonderful video. Highly recommend it. I'll leave it downstairs. But yeah, this one is quite interesting in that you sort of see the behind the scenes of how Lispector uses her magic and mysticism throughout her prose. It's definitely something that I need to revisit. Oh, that's what I also wanted to talk about. I felt like the translation was a bit off with this one. There was something really odd about this, and the booktuber that I have downstairs that will be mentioned was saying this too, because he read another translation by, what's his name? By Giovanni Pontiero. I want to pick up that translation because I think I would get a lot more out of this through his translation. Can I read you some lines though? Page 36. The imagination grasped and possessed the future of the present, while the body was there at the beginning of the road, living at another pace, blind to the experience of the spirit. Page 26. Inside her, it was as if death didn't exist, as if love could weld her, as if eternity were renewal. it's these extensive infinities that occur within, but also outside. There's this constant push and pull between past and future, where the present is so unsettling for Joanna that you can tell that anxiety was very much festering within Lispector's early life as a 23-year-old, as a 20-something. And having written this, though, at the age of 23, makes me feel like I've done nothing with my life. To be honest, but I think it's always been there. This innate, giant, empty yearning slash longing slash suffering that is so existential and very much her character, and it's always been there. It's hard. It's hard to remove art from artist, but if you look at all of her novels, Lispector is there. It is her. Whether she's a man, whether she's a woman, whether she's in love or out of it, eating a cockroach or loving an actual man, it's her. And at one point it like frightens me that all of these feelings has always existed within her, in her body. But she also didn't necessarily use writing as a way of therapy, but as a way to sort of unleash this thing within her. And there's a line in here, if I can find it. But early in the book, there's a moment where she talks about how there's this sort of wild animal that exists within her. And to go on, she says, I have a body, and everything that I do is a continuation of my beginning. And it's this animal that sort of not necessarily ages, but advances, grows wilder, grows hungrier, and it just sort of consumes her and keeps eating and clawing and existing, sort of striving for not survival, but this angsty living. And yeah, it's always been there in her. That's why I think it's such a tremendous book and important in the Lispector canon. But ticking it off, saying it so that this is not the book to start with if you're reading Lispector. Also, to preface, I've said that one should start with the completed short stories of Lispector, but let me tell you, do not read those stories like back to back. You can't do that. And also some of them, also it's like completed stories. Like, you can't. To get a taste of her, what I recommend you do, when I say start with Lispector, I mean go into that bookstore, pick up that book, flip to a random story, read. If it's not for you, then try and give her novels a chance. From there, I recommend Aqua Viva, or go like hardcore and read Passion According to GH. That's the go big or go home, truly, because I know that there's one or two like curated collections of her stories, and I would recommend those, except I haven't read any of those, because I feel the same way about like Lucia Berlin, the Manual for Cleaning Women, which I think is a fantastic collection of Lucia Berlin's work. I just wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend, oh, I have them. I prefer curated collections. I prefer curation. Curation is so important and people don't give it enough credit as like a real job. But when it is done so well, especially for books and short stories, very much short stories in particular, it's a skill. It's a skill. Because I feel like any short story collection, it's very much like a mixed bag. And I hate that. I hate that you just like slip in some, yeah, some are bangers and some are not, and the some are not are like, sure, sort of mellow out and create this like rhythm, but you can create a rhythm without having like a bad short story. I'm sorry. If it's not good, don't include it. Don't include it, okay? The collection is better without it. If you need to keep like a page count, ask the writer to make another short story. I don't care. You can have a beautiful, complete, wholesome collection with rhythm without having to put a poopy story in there, okay? I love Lucia Berlin. I have two collections here. How did we get here? I'm supposed to be talking about two other books here, and we're already at 22 minutes. Okay, So Long Stories from 1987 to 1992 is a fantastic collection. As you can tell, it's an ugly copy because I've read through it multiple times. If I'm ever in need of like reference to refresh my sentences or to relearn how to be playful with language, this is my go-to. If there are any writers out there, this one's fun. This one's a good one. All the stories are perfect. Some are much better than others, but the ones that are like okay, they're good. They're fantastic. So I recommend this. Another great collection is Evening in Paradise, which focuses a lot more on, I wanted to say that it focuses a lot more in Chile, but it actually doesn't. Okay, it ranges from Texas, Chile, New Mexico, and New York. Why I feel like it was set a lot more in Chile is because all of them are warm. There's like an exuberating warmth that comes out of the landscapes she creates in all of these places, but also of her characters. There's a lot of warmth. And these have almost like a punch, a bite that collectively sings so well together. And this is why I think also is a very good collection of hers. But I believe Manual for Cleaning Woman is essentially all of her stories, which is fine if you need something like that, but like, those are so bulky. Like the Lispector completed stories is like, complete collection of stories is so bulky. Like you can't even bring that around. That thing is a door stopper, if anything, at best. So yeah, I very much enjoy curated collections of short stories. Going back to Lispector, if you want to taste a Lispector, go into the bookstore, pick up the completed short stories, go to one, read it. If it works for you, fantastic. Pick up that book, that door stopper, and just, you know, popcorn, read through it. Read it in between other books, because you can't just sit there with that and like read through all of it, because that's just not how Lispector is meant to be read. And yeah, so if you like the short stories, do that. But if you also are more interested in her novels, Aqua Viva works. That one's good because it's also very short. It's like 84 pages. Or Passion Court and GH. And yeah, that's just full head-on quintessential Lispector. Lispector at her best. After that, I recommend An Apprenticeship or The Book of Pleasures, and essentially anything else. Or another segue I recommend is to read a Benjamin Journal Rec, The Stillest Day by Josephine Hart, and then read A Breath of Life. And that is just like a beautiful book pairing. And that's also a nice segue into Lispector. So definitely recommend that too. Oh, and after Aqua Viva, okay, yeah, if you take the Aqua Viva, An Apprenticeship, or The Book of Pleasures, The Hour of the Star is also a nice one. So you can go from Aqua Viva to An Apprenticeship, or Aqua Viva to The Hour of the Star. That's also a nice, cute little paved pathway for you for the Church of Lispector. Okay, then after that, I finished March of the Mammoths, Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. Nearly 600 pages, 580 pages. Let me give you the TLDR so that you don't have to like listen to all of this, however I'm gonna say it. I haven't really formed my thoughts on it entirely because it's a lot. It's a lot to really tackle, and we've got a few more things to talk about, so I don't know how to go about this. But the TLDR is, Crossroads is the director's cut of a Eugene O'Neill play for people who think The New Yorker is super important. That's my Goodreads review. It's great. It's a phenomenal book. It's, you know, strong, 4, maybe 4.5 stars. It tells a story about the Hildebrands. First, we have a dad as a pastor dealing with God and sort of dealing with mutiny in a sense. We have a wife on the verge, depressed woman moving, DWM, lots of fun. I like her a lot. We have a son who has a drug addiction that turns into something else. This will be spoiler free. Another son who's contemplating about going into the Vietnam War. A beautiful daughter caught between loving a musician. And who else am I forgetting? There's someone else. And there's like a couple of other characters outside of the family. And yeah, it takes place in the 70s and takes place in a single day, just about a day and a half. Christmas Eve, I believe. It's a giant family drama that explores morality, familial hierarchies, what is right, what is wrong, how do we navigate problematic people in blood-bound relationships, what we sacrifice, and what we hide, how well do we hide it, all in the face of family. And it's tremendous. It's a great novel. It's, you know, like I said, 4.5 strong 4 stars. But it's very much one of those movies that come out specifically for Oscar season. It's a strong Oscar contender of a book, is what it is. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was fun looking at the characters and sort of seeing how they are competitive with each other, how much they like almost spite and hate each other, but also how love is not pretty. It's ugly. Love is ugly, especially within family. And that's something that I don't think we own up to enough. There is no such thing as the perfect family. And if there is, there's a lot of ugliness to it. The ugly underbelly exists. It's very much about image, what we portray, what masks do we put on between each other and people outside of family. I think it's a fun book to revisit in that when you read it and what age you read it, you attribute yourself to specific characters more so than others. And yeah, reveals a lot about who you are in life. And I've read bits and pieces of the corrections to sort of understand Franzen as a writer. And I think it's interesting to see that he's a lot mellower in his writing, because as my lit professor once said, who loves Franzen but also is very critical of Franzen because it's just fun to sort of analyze his work, in that Franzen used to be the kind of writer where he hated his characters, and it shows in the narrative arcs that he takes and in the third-person voice that he uses. And it's almost sort of out of cruel curiosity, almost as if like a grade school student hovers a magnifying glass over an ant underneath the sun and sort of see how his characters suffer. But written with a very hefty weight amount of skill, incredible prose, and almost very much so controlled. It's beautiful the way he textures and layers his writing, which goes down so easy as well in the third-person voice. There's a interview that Franzen did with another professor, I believe, who is also a very good literary critic, I think. But he does a good job of breaking down a particular scene very early in the book and shows you, yeah, the beautiful nature that Franzen works in, his frames, and how he creates intense footwork within his prose to create this very beautiful roundabout way of getting to a particular theme while also being lyrical and playful and very easy to read. And yeah, did not expect to like flip and run through pages because this was fun. This was a lot of fun. Did it need to be 580 pages? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know what the other 2 books will look like because I believe this will be a trilogy. This is the first book in the installment. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I find myself still thinking about the characters because, yeah, my family's not perfect. We've had some horrible moments, and I think that's why I've resonated so much. And it's very much, I think I spent a tremendous amount of time talking about like the suburbs and sort of suburban sensationalism and sort of that all warped up in this. And yeah, it's been a few days, I want to say 5 or so days. I'm still thinking about the book. I'm still thinking about the characters. And yeah, very much because they remind me of my own family. But again, yeah, this just feels like a strong Oscar contender. It feels like someone's dad at the New York Times or the New Yorker who, you know, sends this book to his daughter at Columbia to tell her that he loves her because he doesn't know how to tell her he loves her. Anyway, I will say though, if you are interested in Franzen, this is a perfect place to start because it's incredible. Oh, I forgot my point. So very early on, you can tell that Franzen was very cruel to his characters and you could tell that he hated them. He mellowed out. I don't know what happened. Maybe the pandemic did him good. He mellowed out. He's a lot kinder. There's a sweetness to this. I don't know how to describe it, but just as much as, you know, an old fashioned goes down real smooth, there's that hum, this warmth, this humming that sings after that sip. First sip, 2 sips. He's a lot more gentle with his characters. As much as, you know, shit goes down in this book, let me tell you, there's, I don't know, there's a love. There's a love for his characters, also with time, with age. This is, yeah, Franzen at his prime, and goes to show that the next book and then the one after that will be very good, very good. But yeah, if you're a Franzen stan, not one to be missed. This one's lots of fun. I liked this. Also, I love this cover. Apparently, it's of his good friend. And yeah, he took this picture, which is kind of cool. And like, it's a flimsy paperback. I don't know. I just loved it. I loved carrying this around. Made me feel good. I don't know, okay? It's just beautifully designed. After that, I could not do big book, so I did a tiny book. We did Olga Ravn's The Employees, which is so fun. What a little odd book. It's, I want to say also a perfect tiny read. It's about the, as you can tell, I'm really bad at retaining information. But again, that's why we should reread books, you know what I mean? So the book is compiled of anonymous statements on the 6000 ship. Why did I say that weird? On the 6000 ship as it courses through space over a course of 18 months. And among these anonymous statements are humans who miss home and androids or humanoids, part human, part robot. And it's their understanding of what it means to be alive, what is quintessential to human existence, or not even human existence, existence itself. And it's funny the way that Ravn explores the humans, where nostalgia, dreams almost become this like burden of the human experience because they haven't been on Earth or have been like home in a really long time. And then the humanoids have this almost like deep yearning to reach so-called home, the earth, grass, what it feels like. And it's beautiful the way that they yearn. Ravn has this very constricted prose that is accessible, readable, and yeah, beautifully explores us as people. It reminds me of, what's that, you know, old age saying that our phones get a lot more action than us? Like the amount of fingering that our phones undergo, the amount of pap smears, they have a lot more sex than we do, our phones. And like, look at the smudges. I know your phone's nasty. Go clean it. And yeah, it reminds me of how much of another limb or an organ that our phones have become, or technology in a sense, and how there's so much reliance on it that it is a part of us. And Ravn explores that with the humanoids and sort of the abnormal, odd feeling it is to be one with machinery, one with technology, AI, and this very strangeness of it all. Somewhere in the middle of the book, there is a disagreement between the humans and the humanoids, and it all goes to hell from there. And I'll stop there. But it's a fun one. It's a fast one. Very, very well done in the different statements and anonymity that occurs, and how Ravn is able to create environment out of sort of these testimonies. And it's all beautiful. It's fun. There's some funny bits as well. I marked one that I'll read for you. This one's fun. Statement 018. The dreams are something you've given me, so that I'll always feel longing and never say, never think a harsh word about you, my gods. All I want is to be assimilated into a collective human community where someone braids my hair with flowers and white curtains sway in a warm breeze, where every morning I wake up and drink a glass of chilled iced tea, drive a car across a continent, kick the dirt, fill my nostrils with the air of the desert and move in with someone, get married, bake cookies, push a stroller, learn to play an instrument, dance a waltz. I think I've seen all this in your educational material. Is that right? What are cookies? So well done. So brilliant. And yeah, if you enjoyed Severance, you'll enjoy this. It's pretty much Severance, outer space. Wonderfully done. And Ravn has a new novel coming out, and I cannot wait for it. But this is so perfect. It has rereadability, it's fast, it's snappy, it's just perfect. It's so, so good. And I don't know who designed this edition. Oh, it's New Directions. But yeah, love the minimalness of that. But yeah, a fun water cooler book. A fun office read. If anyone works like corporate and at an office, or works like a desk job and needs like a fun book club read, y'all should do this. Do this. This is fun. Okay. But yeah, good book. Highly recommend that. Jeez Louise, we are... Woof. Okay, so the ARC that I'm working on right now is Monsters, Claire Deditor, and I'm enjoying it a lot, actually. It investigates an important question that we should all be meddling with right now, but it's about post-Trump, middle of cancel culture. What do we do with monstrous men? What do we do with figures of much influence and the horrible things that they do, but the great art that they make? She begins the book with Roman Polanski and Woody Allen, both men whose work she enjoys very much, and does a nice breakdown of their background, their art as well, and this fidgety position of how to essentially dissect the artist from their art. I'm about halfway through it, and yeah, I'll leave my thoughts there for the moment. It's a good read because it's a good conversation that we should be having. So that's what we're doing. What is it? Middle of March? We're middle March, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're doing good in terms of books and like reading pace. It took about 2 weeks to finish Crossroads, which is why I feel a little bit like disoriented. I kind of just want to read tiny books, but if I know if I read all my tiny books, I will not have tiny books later. And I think, you know, the proportions between big books and tiny books are not equal. So if I know if I read all my tiny books now, I will not have tiny books later that I might need if I ever get exhausted from any like future heavy reads. So, but yeah, that's where we're at. So I'll leave it here. We're done. We're good. Be well. Do good work. Keep in touch.